The Many Origins of Scootaloo by Defender 22. Chapter 3. Pinkie Pie. Twilight couldn't help but beam as she looked around the table. All around her were some of the most famous and distinguished magic users, academics, and politicians in all of Equestria, and several lands lover. Princess Celestia and Luna were at her side, each sipping tea and watching their great minds chat. To her left, Mystic Gold, headmaster of the School for Gifted Unicorns, chatted politely with Master Piles, the curator of the Ponyville Museum. She started title, King of the Capricorns, having a heated debate with the Great Griffin, while Lady Sabriker merely laughed at the two. The crown jewel of this dinner party was, of course, Starswell the Bearded. Long believed dead, the great master of magic had revealed he had finally perfected time travel, and had journeyed thousands of years into the future to see how Equestria would fare after his death. He now sat at the other end of the table, gazing at all the bright minds with a look of inner serenity and peace. Twilight was almost shivering from the raw power Starswell held within him, and she knew tonight that all the lost wisdom he held in the deep recesses of his mind would be hers for the taking. She leaned forward as Starswell stood up, preparing to give the first toast of the night. Twilight was bouncing up and down in giddy delight. What would he say? Oh, will he quote some obscure equestrian play? Or reference one of his many adventures? Or what about... Starswell squealed happily. Huh? Twilight said, smile dropping instantly. Celestia clapped and giggled while Luna reached over and began to gum her own hoof. The world seemed to swirl into a sea of color before realigning itself, allowing Twilight to see that she was not seated in Canterlot's castle's grand ballroom, but lying firmly on a standard bed with two foals sitting on her chest, happily poking their tulle-covered hooves into her cheek. Hey! Pinkie Pie shouted, running over and collecting the babies. Pumpkin, Pound, what are you doing? She quickly trotted out of the room, the unicorn and Pegasus foals dangling from her mouth, as she marched them back into their room. This left Twilight all alone in Pinkie's bedroom, staring at the pink walls and ceiling, trying to figure out what had happened. She had scattered memories of going to Sugar Cube Corner, Rarity Applejack kissing, Princess Luna in a lab coat, and her talking about how to make babies. Pinkie Pie. Oh, Celestia, please tell me we didn't. Didn't what, Twilight? Pinkie Pie asked as he bounced happily into the room. Just forget it, Twilight, Pinkie Pie. Twilight eased herself, rubbing her throbbing head, and frowning when she found that her skull had been wrapped with enough bandages to make a mummy jealous. What the heck? Pinkie smiled, jumping onto the bed. You don't remember? After you yelled at Mr. and Mrs. Cake, I went to look for you to make sure you were okay and weren't bursting into flames. It took me a while, and I got distracted by some trees that I thought looked like cotton candy, but then I found you! Pinkie began to giggle, and Twilight wondered, not for the first time, if Pinkie had lost her mind. You were so funny, Twilight! You were walking around pretending you were a woodpecker! Woodpecker? You know. Pinkie went out to a wall and banged her head against it several times. See? She exclaimed, not nearly as loopy as Twilight had in After Such an Act hours ago. Then you fell down and began twitching, and I thought you might have developed Pinkie sense, so I brought you back here to bandage you up. And since that was so fun, I decided to put Band-Aids on you, even though you weren't hurt, because Band-Aids are fun! Twilight looked down to see that her belly was covered in little adhesive strips that had been strategically placed to create an outline of Pinkie's head. Thanks. So... Pinkie leaned in close, eyes blinking rapidly. So... Twilight responded, wondering what the heck Pinkie wanted. At least she wasn't clamoring to throw a "You're better" party. So... What were you doing that made you go from happy to shouting? Did Mrs. Cake point out that weird thing you do when you eat a brownie? No, she did. Why does everybody keep saying that? Because it is weird. Did Princess Luna forget your birthday? What? No! Good, because it's sad when a mother forgets her daughter's birthday. Did Mrs. Cake tell you that crazy rumor she heard about Scootaloo? No, she... Wait, yes, she did. Charlie's face screwed up in utter confusion. How did you... Pinkie interrupted her, jumping off the bed, happily dangling through her closet. A rubber duck, several books, and a large mallet flew out as Pinkie spoke. That story is so silly. Everyone knows the truth about Scootaloo, so I don't know why Mrs. Cake thought that story was true. A feather boa, a picture of Princess Celestia dressed as a construction worker, and some socks flew over Twilight's head as Pinkie continued to rummage around. You know where Scootaloo comes from, Twilight said nervously, her need for knowledge warring with her need for sanity. She could feel both hemispheres of her brain warring against one another, battling like two sumo wrestlers. Yip yip! Said Pinkie, finally pulling out a large wooden hoof puppet theater. She dove behind it, selecting the items wanted, before racing over to shut the lights off and galloping back to the twins' room. Pumpkin and Pound giggled as Pinkie set them next to Twilight, handing them each a flashlight. Okay, the true origin of Scootaloo! Oh boy, Twilight said, thankful there were no tables around, as the twins shone their flashlights upon the stage. A long, long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, the planet of Colton would not last a night. Scootaloo knew this. He had seen the signs coming and tried to convince the council to evacuate the planet, but they had refused to believe him, seeing his warnings as merely the rantings of a crazed stallion who was overreacting. All those months he had spent giving them his findings, detailing 7 separate plans to save the planet. They had all been for naught. Hey, Pinkie, I'll take it from here. Oh, sir? Yeah, Pinkie, I've got this. Okay. The red sun would explode within hours, and with its death come the end of Colton and all its ponies. Oh, wait a minute! How can a sun blow up? The Alicorn in charge of it would never let that happen! There is no Alicorn in charge of it, Twilight. Colton had no goddess that moved the sun or moon. The planet moved around the sun all by its own gravity. Pinkie, that is crazy talk. His lab, normally so clean one could have performed surgery on his work table, was torn to pieces as he grabbed every scrap of metal and spare piece of wire he could get his hooves on. In the center of his lab was his only hope. The only hope for Colton. Above him, the clear ceiling of his lab allowed him to see the night sky lit up like a bonfire. The raw energy of the rising sun flashing across the sky and casting an eerily red glow upon the planet. It would not last long. Scootaloo, his wife Lauren said softly, trotting over him, a small bundle wrapped and secured on her back. Is it time? Yes, my love, it is. Turning towards his masterpiece, Scootaloo pressed his hoof against the polished metal surface. This work, his last effort, would be the salvation of his people, for it was this small spaceship that would carry his only child away from the planet. Only one child would survive, the last child of Colton. Lauren gently placed the small bundle in the rocket, the little orange fall cooling happily slightly as she looked around the interior of the ship. She had no way of knowing that within an hour, maybe less, her entire race would be wiped out, and she would be hurling towards a strange new world. Scootaloo will be all alone, Lauren whispered. No, never alone, Scootaloo said softly, taking a moment to stroke the foal's purple hair. You will travel far, my little Scootaloo, but we will never leave you, even in the face of death. The richness of our lives will be yours. You will carry me inside you all the days of your life. You will make my strength your own. See my life through your eyes, as I will see yours through mine. The son becomes the father, and the father becomes the son. Daughter. What's that now? Scootaloo is our daughter. Are you sure? Quite sir. But what about? That's her leg. Oh, and that other leg. Right. Scootaloo puckered his lips. Well, I had this whole speech planned out about how you would be a shining light, savior to the people of your new home, but that now I'm all flustered, so, Scootaloo tapped his chin. That'll do, Pink. Are you serious? Lauren complained as the cockpit shut on Scootaloo, the baby blinking as she watched her parents fight. That'll do, Pink? Those are your final words to your daughter? Rather than you just standing around saying nothing, what kind of mother are you, just staring with glassy eyes at your foal? The rocket began to tilt upward, preparing to take off as the two ponies continued to bicker. I am silently sending love to our child! Oh, is that what you call it? Then I guess you've been sending love silently to me for the last 8 months. The rocket fired off into the night sky, unnoticed by the couple. Not that it would matter to you. I know you've been fooling around with Becky on the payroll for years. At least she isn't a fidget hobby, damn it! I need a drink. Scootaloo trotted over to the mini fridge, cracking open a beer, even as the sky began to glow red hot and the air around them became superheated. What? No comments about me drinking too much. Come on, lay it on me. That is all you're good for. You know, is it because you are a drunk that no one believed you? Are you blaming for me this, you cow? If the horseshoe fits, well, at least I actually do something, unlike you. Why don't you trot off to the coffee shop and drool over the waitress with your friends Miranda, Charlotte, and Samantha? You know, Scootaloo, I think I want to see other ponies. Fine by me. Now that the kid is gone, there's nothing to tie me to your flank. I have my whole life. Then the sun exploded. Twilight tilted her head, staring at the two angry heart of puppets, as Pinkie reenacted the death of Scootaloo's parents. No! I'm burning alive! Pinkie switched to a higher voice. I said Mary Stephen Magnet! Yuck! Pumpkin looked over at Twilight, as if asking if this made any sense to her. Hey, I'm just as confused as you are, Twilight complained, as Pumpkin began to suck on the flashlight. Pinkie? Pinkie! Yes, Twilight? Pinkie said, popping up between the two flailing hoof puppets. What? What's that? The dramatic retelling of the death of Scootaloo's parents, of course! Twilight gave her friend a half-lit glare. So, you think Scootaloo is an alien? Well, duh! Why else would she have those thingies on her back? Because she's a Pegasus and those are her wings. Oh! Pinkie tapped her chin. But that doesn't mean she isn't an alien, right? Can't be too sure, can we? Twilight opened her mouth to argue, only to snap it shut at the wide-eyed look Pinkie was giving her. Fine! She could be an alien whose parents were too stupid to build a spaceship big enough for all of them to ride in, and who thought they could see through their eyes after they were burned to death by an exploding sun. Great story. Next time, add some pirates. Twilight stood up to leave, only to find herself shoved back down. But I'm not done yet, Twilight. Don't you want to know how Scootaloo came to Ponyville? You're going to tell me, even if I say no, aren't you? Pinkie nodded her head heavily. Fine! Twilight sat down next to Pumpkin, the later offering her a flashlight to suck on. I'm good, thanks. 5 years later. Up and on, Scootaloo. Let's go. The happy little filly trotted after her adopted mother and father as they made their way down the dirty, obviously crime-filled alley. Scootaloo had truly lucked out. When her rocket had crashed in Equestria, it had been found by a wealthy Manhattan couple who had adopted her and raised her in a lap of luxury. She had been given the best of everything, and she knew nothing but joy and happiness. This isn't going to end well, is it? Her father, Easy Target, calmly led his wife, Easy Pickings, down the alley. Scootaloo, only a few steps behind. Oh boy. Honey, are you sure this is wise? Easy Pickings said, pulling her... I'm sorry. Honey, are you sure this is wise? Easy Pickings asked, pulling her expensive coat tighter around her neck. I am, after all, wearing my most expensive and easiest defense purse. Easy Target laughed at his wife's obviously misplaced fears. He took out a fat wad of bills and began to count it, something that always helped to calm his nerves. Sweetheart, please. We are rich and powerful. Nothing bad will happen to us. Excuse me, a rough-looking pony said, stepping in front of them. Mother! Easy Target screamed, throwing his wife in between himself and the thug. Easy Pickings let out a cry as she slipped, mashing her head against the ground and ending her life within a second. Easy Target didn't even notice, as he was too busy trying to escape the robbery, only to trip over Scootaloo and fall into a wood chipper. Why would there be a wood chipper in an alley? To get rid of the trees, duh! But there aren't any trees in an alley. Because the wood chipper already chipped them up. Jeez, I was just going to ask for the time, said the thug in shock. He looked down at Scootaloo and gave her a gentle pat on the head. Listen, little Finny, I'll go get a doctor, okay? He looked at her adopted parents, eyebrow raised. Of course, considering how stupid those two were, you might be better off an orphan. He quickly galloped off as the other rough and tough ponies moved in to try to comfort the crying filly. Scootaloo shook her head, trembling as she walked over to her father, who was quickly being chewed up by the wood chipper. Dad. Scootaloo, listen. Don't be afraid? Scootaloo asked. I was going to say poor, but that works too. And then he died. Pound and Pumpkin Cake looked at Twilight, and the unicorn got the distinct impression the twins were silently begging her to take him with her and not to leave them alone with the obviously insane pink mare, or the two gossips they called parents. You are going to have so many therapy bills, Twilight muttered, the twins nodding in agreement. Well, this has been strange, but I didn't smash my head against the table, so I'd say you've been the best pony I talked to today, Pinkie. Congrats. Now I really... Pinkie spun around Twilight like a mini hurricane. The unicorn letting out a yelp once he realized he had been duct taped to the bed. Nuh-uh-uh! I'm not done yet, Twilight. Just so you sit right there and listen. Pinkie got a strange look in her eye. Or else! Pinkie, have you ever read the book Misery? Nope. Why do you ask? No reason, Twilight said meekly. Scootaloo sat in the recliner, staring up at the night sky. She was dressed in a red bathrobe, her normally spiky purple mane hanging limp, as she turned her attention to the portrait of her adopted parents. Mom, Dad, and, other Mom, Dad, who also died, I will avenge your deaths. I will become a watchful guardian, a silent protector. I will be a mistress of the shadows. No, that is what I am now. Scootaloo let strike a dramatic pose. I am the mistress of shadows. I am the guardian of the night. I am the avengers of wrongs. I am the terror of flesh in the night. I am daring mare of mystery, champion of right. Swoops above the shadows, guardian of the night. Somewhere some villain schemes, but his number's up. 4, 3, 2, 1. Mare do well. When there's trouble, call him MDW. Mare do well. Let's get dangerous. Mare do well. Mare do well. Mare do well. Cloud of smoke and she appears, the mistress of surprise. Who's that daring mare behind the shadowy disguise? No pony knows for sure. Bad guys are out of luck. Here comes Mare do well. Look out! When there's trouble, call MDW. Mare do well. Let's get dangerous. Mare do well. Better watch out, you bad colts. Mare do well. Pinkie? We were Mare do well. The happy pink biker blinked, still panting after singing her song about the great Mare do well, before giving Twilight a condescending smile and pat on the head. Silly Twilight, you're a Pinkie Pie in Twilight Sparkle. Twilight's shoulders slumped. We were also Mare do well, remember? Nope. Pinkie, I can literally see your costume hanging in your closet. Pinkie turned and found that yes, the Mare do well costume was there. I am concerned you can't remember. I think you might have brain damage, and that is coming from some pony who bashed her head against 2 different tables today. Twilight, you can't damage your brain. That's why heads are so hard. What? Pinkie trotted over to her end table, and giving it a smack that it rendered her unconscious. Pumpkin crawled over to Pinkie, poking her. Twilight, realizing this was her chance, broke free of the duct tape quickly and made for the window, only to find the twins looking at her with pleading eyes. Sorry, find your own escape route! And with that, Twilight leapt through the window and hurried off. Instantly, Pinkie leapt up and gave the twins a hug. And that is how you break Twilight Sparkle! Next time, I'll show you how to mess around with Dashi! Chapter 4, Iron Will. Luna had done a nice job with the stars tonight. Twilight had begun to trot back to the library after screaming Pinkie Pie and her crazy ideas. The world revolving around the sun. The mare is insane! And was quite surprised to find that night had fallen. The moon hung overhead, and without a cloud in the sky, she was able to see all the twinkling stars that shined over her. Luna had really outdone herself. And Twilight wondered if the Alicorn realized how many ponies had come to love her night. Nice work, Mom, Twilight thought with a snort. She couldn't believe how many ponies thought she was related to Luna. That's because they both had a dark coat, and their cutie marks dealt with the night sky. And Twilight had never seen any full pictures of herself in her parents' house. Beautiful night, isn't it? Twilight turned to find herself joined by Ponyville's resident mad pony, Dr. Hooves. Yes, the doctor will be fine, thank you, he once told them. The brown stallion smiled slightly as he looked up at the sky, marveling its beauty. Amazing how it looks so different here than it does back home, when half of those stars are burned out after the great universal civil war. Twilight merely smiled, deciding she didn't want to try and figure out what he was talking about. The doctor was always strange, making little comments like that, and the residents of Ponyville had learned to ignore him. Heck, The only one that seemed to take any notice of his strangeness was Derpy, and that pony was the last one that to be considering others weird. So, why are you out this late? The doctor asked, as he passed by Quills and Beds. Not to be confused with Beds and Quills, or Ray's original Quills and Beds. Off on an adventure? Fighting dragons, or taking on the Queen of Fear? Queen of what? Oh, nothing, the doctor said, before muttering, spoilers. Ignoring his strange comments, Twilight turned a corner and began to head home. Actually, none of the above. Somehow, I got suckered into finding about Scootaloo's past, and have been dealing with crazy theories all day. The doctor nodded, though it was clear from his lack of a smile, and he was disappointed in the answer. I suppose you kind of always have crazy offenses. He paused, replaying his last statement. Wait, don't we already do this? Huh? You and Scootaloo. You and your little friend dragon friend jumped on your head when I told you about Scootaloo. At Twilight's frank stare, the doctor cursed in frustration. Stupid tortoise! I wanted to go 12 hours into the future, and it sent me 12 hours in the past! Listen, I will see you in the morning, but I won't remember any of this. Oh, and remember to take a step to your left, or was it right? He then left a bemused Twilight standing in the road as he stalked away to make the corrections to his beloved blue box. Twilight shook her head, a smile gracing her steps. Perhaps what the Capricorns of Bridal Bed said was true. Every pony in Equestria was crazy. Deciding to take a shortcut back to the library, Twilight took a quick left, only to find herself engulfed by a massive crowd of ponies. What the? Twilight began to push her way through the throng, ponies muttering all about his return, and he's back, and hope I get to go on stage. Twilight, knowing or caring what was happening, wanted nothing more than to get through the crowd and continue on her journey. So she wasn't very happy when her head collided with a stage the moment she popped out of the crowd. Who put this? Twilight never got to finish, as she suddenly found herself bathed in fireworks and explosions that left her pupils pulsing and ears ringing. She stumbled back, another unicorn and Pegasus catching her as she tumbled. Twilight looked up as the fireworks ended, revealing a large, muscle-bound Minotaur standing on the stage, a microphone in hand. The ponies around Twilight began to stomp their hooves, letting out cheers and whistles. Finally! Our Will has come back to Ponyville! Oh, Celestia, Twilight grumbled, rolling her eyes at the showing-boating Minotaur. And of all the parks in all of Equestria, she had to wander into this one. You know what Iron Will sees when he looks out at the fine ponies of Ponyville? He sees ponies that want to take charge of their lives. Ponies that want what they deserve. Iron Will asks what is wrong with that. Every pony deserves to have what they want. He began to point at the ponies in the crowd. You with a blonde mane, you deserve what you want. The Silver Pegasus, you deserve what you want. You, he pointed to Twilight. The confused bandit unicorn that is scowling, you deserve what you want. Well, I want you to stop pointing at me. Can I get that? Done and done. Iron Will reached down and plucked Twilight onto the stage. I can tell right away that you are not some pony who lets others push you around. What is your name, young lady? It doesn't matter what your name is! Twilight roared, Twilight's face pulling back like she was in an accelerator chamber from the sheer force of the cry. And why is that, Everypony? He called out to the audience. Because you're lame! Everyone already knows your name! The crowd cheered. Twilight blinked, shaking her head in an attempt to get some of her hearing back. It's like being surrounded by 50 Sakuras, she muttered, slowly backing away from the motivational speaker. Listen, all I did was take a wrong turn, and I just want to get back home and sleep off the headache I've gotten from all the craziness I've had to deal with that. And what craziness is that? Tell Iron Will! He motioned for his goat assistants to pull out, of all things, a desk and a love seat. Because Iron Will isn't just about assertiveness. When he sees a pony that embodies what Iron Will believes in, Iron Will wants to sit down! He instantly stopped chatting, and instead took a more conversational tone. And have a nice chat to learn more about them. I barely had time to process what was going on before she found herself sitting on the comfy couch, Iron Will taking a seat behind the desk, grabbing a mug of coffee, and taking a sip as he checked over some cue cards. Overhead, a sign was lowered that read, Chatting with Iron Will. Now then, miss. Twilight. Twilight. Can we have a round of applause for Twilight? The audience let out with a delight. Twilight, you hail from Ponyville, right? Twilight, Utterly confused, could only nod, which caused the ponies in the audience to cheer even louder. One of them shouting, "I'm from there!" even though they were all currently in and from Ponyville.
Yeah, you were saying about something about craziness. Why don't you tell us about it? Do you have a clip?
What? A clip? What do you... The unicorn looked behind him, Ironwell taking another sip of coffee as he waited for her to speak. Realizing he wouldn't let her leave until she spoke, Twilight took a long, slow, calming breath. Well, I've been having a rough day.
Well, tell us about it. The millions and millions, the crowd here, of Ironwell's fans want to hear all about it.
Deciding as he better hurry up, unless she wanted Ironwell to spout off another catchphrase. Twilight quickly said, I've been trying to find out about this little filly, Scootaloo, but everyone keeps telling me these crazy stories. Ironwell held up a hand, mostly for Twilight to stop.
Then why didn't you say so in the first place? Ironwell knows all about Boogaloo,
Scootaloo,
and he will tell you her tale of absurdness.
Listen, it's really late, and I know how this is going down, so can we just get this part in? Scootaloo side! Once he got the other fillies and colts scampered about the door, they were all giggling as they met their parents, who were waiting for them just outside the small building that served as their school. Sometimes, she wished she could have some pony waiting for her. It was silly, of course, because there was no way her parents would ever set hoof in Ponyville. Not after all the bad that had happened. She lowered her head, noticing that very few of the parents were giving her an evil eye. They knew exactly who she was, and didn't want their children anywhere near her. It hurt her heart, but she remembered what her parents always told her. Don't make a scene. It only leads to trouble. Scootaloo scowled and leapt on her scooter, rocketing away from the school, making her way far from Ponyville to her parents' cottage that sat on the edge of Everfree. It was a section of Ponyville that few ever came to. That is why her parents had to make her home there, to avoid the prying eyes of the ponies that hated and despised them. Mom, I'm home! Scootaloo called out, throwing off her helmet and hurrying into the kitchen, where her mother was making brownies. The great and powerful Trixie is wondering if you had a good time at school, Scooty Dooty. Also, would you like some milk with your snack? Wait a minute. Trixie is Scootaloo's mom? Then who the heck is her father? Hey, babe! I'm home. Gilda! Trixie said happily, giving the griffin lover a kiss. Stop! The audience murmured, as Twilight pointed at shaking hoof at Ironwell. No. I already had this conversation once today. You need a stallion and a mare to make a foal.
Right.
Then how could they be Scootaloo's parents?
They adopted.
Somewhere off stage, Twilight heard a trombone go, wah, wah, wah. Oh.
Ironwell is disappointed that you are such a bigot.
Twilight's jaw dropped. I'm not a...
Just because a couple is interspecies does not mean they cannot provide a living home. Why, Ironwell's uncle is married to a very nice Sphinx. Hey, Monger!
You should be ashamed. I like yelling things. Okay, I'm sorry. Twilight called out, flailing her front legs in a panic. The crowd began to settle down, and Twilight slipped in her chair, wishing this day would end. I didn't mean to insinuate anything. Sorry.
Ironwell accepts your apology. What do you say when somebody finally admits they're wrong? About time!
The crowd cheered.
Not my normal catchphrase, but I will admit it works.
Twilight lowered her head, wondering if it was too late to go talk to Mrs. Cake and hear more of her crazy couple theories. At least at Chicken Cute Corner, there weren't an audience cheering slogans. By the way, how do you know Gilda and Trixie?
Hi, I'm Ironwell!
Hi, Ironwell! The gathering of ponies and other creatures called out.
It has been 3 weeks since I've dealt with one of the elements of harmony and had to leave Ponyville.
Flim and Flam nodded, patting his shoulder, while Trixie and Gilda, cuddled in the corner, and Discord's statue, well, just sat there, because it was a statue. Sorry I'm late, guys! A great red dragon bellowed, ripping off the roof of the community its chair so he could participate. I'm doubting the validity of that story. Yeah, Scootaloo, what's the matter? Gilda asked, looking up from her sunflower seed salad. The loving family, and they were loving, despite being somewhat evil, bigoted unicorns would have you believe, had sat down to dinner, and Gilda noticed her little orange sweetie pie was looking down. You haven't touched your oats! Moms, why can't we do normal things like a real family? Why can't you pick me up from school or have a lunch in town? Why do you have to wear our paper bags of shame when we go get groceries? Scootaloo pointed to 2 large bags and a smaller, fairly-sized bag in the corner, with all three with eye holes cut in them. Your great and powerful mother has explained this to you before, Trixie said, pulling Scootaloo closer to her so she could give her a hug. The ponies in Ponyville will never accept us. They simply just don't like us, and we are okay with that. Trying to change that will only lead to confrontation. Trixie gently nuzzled to Philly. If you have any hope of living a quiet, unimportant life, you keep your head down. Do you remember the game we used to play? You mean Doormat? Trixie grinned. That's right! Life is just like that game. You only win if you lay completely still and don't move a muscle when people walk all over you. I guess, Scootaloo said softly, pushing around an oat flake with her hoof, eyes downcast. I just don't understand why you don't stand up for yourselves and be more assertive. We both tried that once before, and it cost us, babe, Gilda answered. My best friend couldn't handle my rad attitude and abandoned me. Trixie was chased out of town by a nerdy bookworm who's probably even never kissed a boy. Hey! I've kissed plenty of boys, like George! Glass! He's not made up at all! Really. We both realize that the only way you can be happy in life is just to rule over and let people treat you horribly. You try to stand up for yourself, it only leads to the heartache. Scootaloo wasn't convinced. But I recently got this book by a motivational speaker named Iron Will, and he says that when done right, you can learn respect from your peers by being assertive. Trixie tapped her chin, using her magic to pull the book from her and from Scootaloo's room. Well, Trixie must admit that Iron Will is a very handsome mentor, and anyone, including that expert ex-girlfriend of hers, Whitey Betty, was a fool to break out with him. Gilda moved over her chair so she could read over the first chapter as well, wrapping an arm around Trixie. According to this, there's a difference between aggressively forcing your views on others and being assertive. She began to read over the chapter, with each well-written word, which made Playwright the Great look like Playwright the Average, made the tough girl Griffin feel that her excitement was swell. Well, this guy isn't lame at all. He is totally cool. She rose up, head held high. Iron Will and his magnificent words have convinced me. We are going to march into Ponyville and be more assertive. We will earn the respect of the South, and they will give us everything we deserve. Trixie nodded, hugging her darn close. Scootaloo, where did you get this amazing book? Scootaloo laughed. Iron Will's from lane to fame game, along with other writings including I Am Equestria, and So Can You, Harry Trotter, and The Goblin of Absurdness, can all be found at your local bookstores for the low price of $19.99. Wait a minute! Is this story just a pitch to sell your book? The audience stopped cheering, and Iron Will, who had been flexing his biceps, striking dramatic poses as he told the grand finale to his story, blinked in confusion as he sat on his desk. Well, yeah. Twilight's eye began to twitch much worse than 2 grasshoppers puffing uglies. But why should that matter? Didn't that story show you that you are never going to give up, and even the smallest of you can change the minds of others and be assertive? Does he want to be like Twilight? The crowd roared with applause, tossing their bits onto the stage. And in the case of one overexcited bear, her bloomers. Though why she was wearing bloomers when she had been wearing pants, nobody knew. Many their copies of Iron Will's books right then and there. Twilight watched all of this with a burning fury. That, with a blast of flames, would have made Twilight Spike proud. It erupted violently along her body, sending her freezing in the air, and her voice deepened into the royal character-like voice. Enough! Don't you realize that he is just spouting off one-liners and common sense in the hopes of getting your bits? He didn't even answer my question! Iron Will tilted his head, considering her words, before flashing a winning smile and gesturing toward the flaming unicorn. See how assertive he was! You can be like that too when you buy my book! Twilight landed with a thud, staring at all the ponies in utter shock as they chattered wildly. The flames turned off. Her skin turned back to normal, and Twilight lowered her head in defeat. Iron Will? Yes, Twilight! Do you have any tables I can bash my head against? No, but I do have these sheets of plywood. He gestured to his assistants, who brought out several thick pieces of wood. We used them as part of our breakthrough session. Crack! 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 Well, Iron Will said in shock as Twilight broke each board in rapid succession, before trotting off the stage, grumbling in utter annoyance.
Oh, for Twilight, everyone! Yeah!
No.
Yeah!
Go, Twilight!
I like yelling things.
Twilight grit her teeth in frustration. Wish I was Nightmare Moon's daughter, then I would summon such a nightfall on all of you! Iron Will clapped his hands before returning to his desk, pointing his pencil as his assistants handed out copies of his book to paying customers.
Coming up next, we have Final Scratch with a single from her new album. We'll be right back.
If you would like tickets to Chatting with Iron Will show, please send a self-addressed email to